And we're live. You would not believe how little time I had to spare. Just slid in here and went live. Who all is here? Well, Lars was here early. Lars does remind you to register or buy spectator tickets for the 3rd. Lars, you copied that from something old. The 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals, but the link is still right. So the link is, I think I pinned it at the top too. They change it. Yeah, there we go. 4th. That is correct. You can still go to the 3rd annual No Name Nationals, but you'll need a DeLorean. Mohawk is here. Buffdale Campo, Dan E. Boyd, Ginger Vance, Dust Devil Garage, 6th Street Garage, Indecisive Garage, who is running in the No Name 500. I believe he's 261 subscribers. He still needs some help. Go check him out. Got a fun, fast truck there. And I think that he can give a threat to that bracket on Friday in the No Name Nationals. Pure Pontiac Garage is here, 38 Racing. Bad Tree Blake says Heathens Assemble. Indeed. Rapid Transit J is here. And Lone Wrench Garage, who is also running the No Name 500 and is in 2nd place right now at, I believe, 281 subscribers. So he's closing in on it. He's just about to get 3. He's still got time. 48 days is plenty of time. Believe it or not, it really is. It'll ramp up as it gets closer. Hot Rod Guy Garage Russell. Russell, did you get your passing gear dilemma figured out? Mrs. One-Eyed Cat says, Don says hello. He's driving. Thank you for being secretary for Don, Miss Wendy. We appreciate it. Indecisive Garage is 263. Okay, there we go. I was close, but 263. He's over halfway. If you've not yet checked out Tim's channel, you should go over there and do so. He's got good content, actually. He's a racer. Yeah, he had one of these problems that's kind of subjective and a little different with passing gear. So I said, hey, let's get the brain trust in on this and call Cope. And by the way, I kind of borrowed a Cope picture for a thumbnail there. I literally just slid in here, like didn't have everything together. But we're going to have fun tonight. Andrew Nelson says, good evening from Team Nivlac 57. Hello. Glad you guys are here. Thanks for watching. Hopefully the second half won't be as hard as the first. No, it will not. The first half is absolutely harder. I think anybody here will tell you that who has done it. So you are correct. The second half will come quickly. And worst case, you can panhandle. I tell you a place that is super sympathetic to people trying to get their subs in Sykeston. So, you know, it works. We've had, I think, 3 people do it so far. 2 of them literally with cardboard signs. And it was a lot of fun. But you're going to get there, man. You're going to get there. I think we're going to have 100% graduation, the No Name 500 for the first time ever this year. Yes, I thought you'd like that. Just such a good shot. It resized nicely and everything. So just couldn't resist it. It was just such a nice looking thumbnail there. Colleen, he is here, a.k.a. Mama M to the 3rd power. Justin Hill says, hi, friends. Hello, sir. It has been raining off and on all afternoon and raining a lot. Been dealing with that. I made a run to the grocery store and it was just pouring rain. And it rained anytime I needed to be out of the car. So I kind of come in here as a drowned rat, but not too bad. And one thing I will say about old Russell here, if he says I don't have time, he actually means it. That guy gets a lot of stuff done. This guy does, and this guy does. They are machines when it comes to getting stuff done. Not taking anything away from anyone here. Those 2, I don't know if they sleep. Justin Hill says it's hot in Idaho. Okay, I've never been to Idaho. I've been to about half the states, and Idaho is not one of them. Levi says, evening, gents. Currently working on a top secret project. Okay. Colleen said it's only 80 and not 98 degrees, but they're getting poured on by the rain. Dean Stevenson is here from the other side of the world. Hello, Matthew. Glad you could make it. Glad you all are here. So now I can finally say that the No Name Nationals is next month. I know that probably frightens people to hear it put that way, but it's true. The 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals is next month. So I have a link pinned at the top where you can register, and I strongly recommend, if you've not yet registered, you probably should. It's time. I made the commitment and went out on the limb, so it's time. Turbo Tom says big races at Norwalk, Ohio this weekend. Cool. Dean says I've used a rotary hoe. I don't know what that is, and I don't want my imagination to give me guesses. Danny Boyd says 7 weeks, indeed. When are you coming to the No Name Nationals, Danny Boyd? 81 degrees in Idaho, not bad. Jerry Frank says, have you noticed Rich is still up to semantics? Yes, I have. I will say, for whatever it's worth, if you followed that saga for all these years, Rich was doing his, I don't know what number valve adjustment he's on, but he did another this afternoon that, I mean, the car cannot start. He adjusted all of them without rotating the engine between adjusting valves. So some of them are adjusted on the seats, and some of them are adjusted half open and everything else. So, and then he went to start it and didn't do anything. I don't know. At this point, he's closing in on 1,000 subs, and maybe it's the point is to not get it running. I don't know. But if so, he's the best actor ever. I don't know. But at least he was working on the car today. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Blake. Blake joined the club of people banned from that channel last week. I'm like, what took you so long, man? I got there years ago. Right. Yeah, it seems to be a lot of fun in the YouTubers world right now. Justin Hill has to win the lottery before he goes to No Name Nationals. That's the spirit. Yeah, tonight is fun. I'm going to have to do a good... Dean says, Blake presented as entirely normal the whole time, John Wilburn. Blake is cool. Blake's a good dude. He drove the short bus, indeed. And that's good work, man. We need people to do that. I remember when I would go to school in the mornings. I went to a private school, and they didn't have bus service. And there was this road that would take me out to the school. And there was a short bus pickup that was on that road. And sometimes we'd get caught behind it, and you couldn't go around it. There was nothing you could do. The bus couldn't pull off. I'm like, there's one student they had to pick up. I wish they could just pull around the corner to the drive. If they just pulled around the corner on a wide street, it would have been fine. But no, they would stop on the narrow road. And I mean, it would take it seemed like 10 minutes or more. I'm like, man, I'll be late for school because of that. But I think it's a lot better than it is now. But man, that system was awful. Danny Boyd says, I botched my first lifter preload adjustment the first time I tried. Yeah, exactly. You know, we all learn. We all learn, but you shouldn't spend 3 years doing it. I've actually got a 305 in the garage. And weather permitting and what all tomorrow, I think I'm going to do a nice, concise little video on how to adjust a pair of valves and then what you need to do between the next pair. I think you know, I know a simpler way that will help him. Because to help somebody that does not and cannot understand what actually goes on in the engine, instead of telling them why, you need to tell him how. And the simplest way does not involve any top dead center stuff. It's actually the way that, you know, you adjust them in the pits at the track. basically, except instead of using the starter to bump it, you can just do it by hand. But I think that would be vastly more helpful to him. But there's all kinds of other problems. I was watching some of it today, and the distributor's all in it all over the place. Who knows? It's not going to run like that. But I think the valve adjustment video might be a little bit of fun. I have done a few little fun videos like that. One of them was pure comedy, and one of them was genuinely to help him with a wheel stud. He insisted the axle needed to come out to replace a wheel stud, and I made a video showing it absolutely does not, and it's actually not very hard to change with the axle in the car. And his takeaway from that was, let's spray paint it black and put the wheel back on. Anyway, enough of that. Lunar Outlaw Garage says, good evening. Hello, Lunar. And by the way, if you have not yet checked out his website for the Carb Buddy, either version, the intake or carburetor top version, or his block-off plates, or any of those cool things he makes, there is a link below in the description every week on this video. The No Name Nationals community gets, I believe it's 5% off on the Carb Buddy. There's a link there, and it's a good product. I've got one. I've got the block-off plates he makes for small block Mopar. Super cool. So you'll see more of that stuff later, but there is a link for you guys in the description. It is a good product. He's done a good job with that. Jonathan Reed is here. He says, you the man. Hey to Jethro. I think he means Jethro is the man. He's had a slow, rainy day. He's just taking a nap right there right now. Danny Boy said, my whole neighborhood in 5th grade got to ride the short bus. We got out 15 minutes early. I actually like those shorter buses like that because they still have the wide body on them, but the shorter wheelbase. I always thought those things looked super cool as a tow rig, like towing a race car, you know, and have a camper set up in it and all that. I always thought they looked great like that, but it's still, the parts are so big and heavy and the gas mileage is horrific. And, you know, yeah, I don't know what that stuff with Dennis is. I have no idea. Rich's mods are starting to finally wane over there. Indecisive Garage Tim got called away. Well, thank you for joining us when you can, and you know, hang out, listen, come back, whatever, do what you need to do. It's all smoke and mirrors. Well, if anybody's good at smoke and mirrors is Blake. I'll tell you something. Blake did a video one time I really liked. And it's one of those things that it wasn't like widely popular, but it was really neat. He did like a little short film horror movie, Nightmare on Ann Street. And I actually thought it was really cool and well done. It just shows sort of Blake's creativity away from cars. Hey, Blake, you got a mod wrench. You can put up a link to that if you want. I thought that was really neat. I was a real fan of that. But like a lot of things that are kind of neat and niche like that and off the path, they don't get as many views as they should. But I thought that was really cool. I have always liked Blake's creativity for that reason. And I think that people that just, you know, they know and are familiar with BTP through this community, that's one thing. But he's got neat stuff away from that too. What in the world is this, Levi? I told you if the Levi's Backyard Performance Camp isn't ready for No Name yet, would you be surprised asking for a friend? We'll be ready, but today we are not. Nobody's ready. Mexican Spec is here. Hello, sir. Anytime, man. We appreciate you. Dean Stevenson said, I hadn't cut my hair in 9 months. Now I look like a punk. Might you have before? So now Lunar says the coupon code NNN will get you 20% off store-wide. So he is raising the stakes. So check it out. See if there's anything there you need. I can vouch for the quality. The stuff he has sent me has been very good. He's done a good job designing his stuff. It's all built very heavy duty. Mopar's Mustangs and Minivans has sent me a registration for No Name Nationals, as if there was any doubt they would be coming. Mexican Spec said the best tow rig is an old turbo diesel box ambulance. Yeah, I could see that. Diesel's always kind of weirded me out, but I know they're really good. $3 years ago. Is that your movie? It was 3 years ago? Sounds about right. There you go. There's a link if you want to see it. I thought it was cool. I like stuff like that. I would enjoy seeing more of that kind of stuff. he's made some fun stuff over the years. Blake says if BTP's world headquarters would ever get built, I might get back in the swing of weekly uploads. What's the status on that? I know that there's plans to build a big new shop on Jabo's property, and it's been a lot of bureaucratic red tape keeping them from doing so. Mexican Specs asking if Lunar Outlaw Garage wants to set up a booth at No Name Nationals. Well, Lunar could do that if he'd like to come out. Levi says the sad part is the to-do list is a majority of tow pig and trailer mate. Oh, yeah. Mexican Spec likes all that about the box ambulance. I get it. I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I just, it's a lot of truck. And I'll tell you, when we had an ambulance or two come in when I was at community college, if I remember right, and the brakes, man, they beat the brakes off of those things. Really, really heavy, driving fast, and the Fords would get these cracks that would go out from the center in the rotors, and they destroy brakes. .38 Racing says, I'm feeling pretty good now that I've driven the ST, and the chances are good it will make it if I don't break it. Right on. Diecast Dreams Customs been doing some yard work. I need to do some yard work here this weekend. I need to balance yard work and getting a radiator in the van. Keeps getting pushed back. I hear that. Colleen gave one of Lunar's carb stands to his machinist son. He rebuilds Hollies and loves it. Cool. One of those things you don't think about till you're actually in the middle of work on something and need it. Lunar says his square body tow rig is coming together. 496 inch with an Allison. Okay. All nickel and dime from the little part. Oh, yeah, that's the worst part of it. That gets really expensive. Now, Jethro's getting grouchy, so he's going to have to get deported. Speaking of deported. Hang on just a second. I gave Jethro a verbal, but it's not going to work. Said it will be built no later than July. It is now August. Ron Ward is here. He says, Dylan, don't forget to pack an engine hoist and a transmission jack in the trailer. Might be helpful. I am going to be back because obviously Jethro can't chill. I just took him out right before this live and he's being cranky. So I will be right back. Hang out and chat. I have a feeling he's going to be doing this tonight. It's just what he wants to do. He's taking a nap too long today, and now he's being cantankerous. All right. Yeah, he comes back down the hallway. I told him he could go to his crate. You can stay out if you're going to behave. If you're not, you're going to the crate. He won't come up here and get on camera, though. He could just come right up here, but he won't. Levi says, Ron, in order to need those, I need a spare engine or transmission. Well, you found one last year. Jethro is okay. It's not overpowering you. Yeah, but I'll tell you one thing. It's hard when he does that, and it's not cool. Now he's back to taking a nap again. Probably do better if I had his fan running. Yeah, he likes anything with two wheels. Well, he was barking good at that deer yesterday. Ron Ward says, I'm looking forward to another great weekend in Sykeston with everyone in September. Me too. Me too. This has been a very challenging year. Old McDonald said, hey, Dean, has the Chinese Navy been terrorizing boaters in your neck of the woods? I was talking about the Chinese Navy just today and how frighteningly big they are. Dean mentions that, and he is correct on pretty much everything. Lars says at a football scrimmage, but stopping by to say howdy, folks. Hope everyone is doing good. Ron Ward says the beauty of Dillon's builds is parts are readily available at local hardware stores and quickie marts. This is true. I think you can get most of your LS parts in blister packs hanging up at your local 7-Eleven. Bad Tree Production says, so who's taking the responsibility of A-Body Avenue? Better have a strong liver and bring energy. Wow. Turbo Tom said the Model T did 800 miles last week in Minnesota. Lost its top in the wind. Oh my gosh, 800 miles? Did you drive at 800 miles? If so, I don't know how you have a bike left. Lowry's Garage says, hello all. Thanks for coming by. We appreciate it. Levi says, Blake, technically my car is an A-body, but my liver is quivering at the sight of beer. GM has just GM stuff. All of these distinctions I save for Mopars. Yeah, see, wrong words like that too. A-body, question mark. You mean Chevelles, GTO, Skylarks, 442? Okay, whatever. Just GM stuff. I just don't know. It's kind of like where GM people they'll call every A-body's a duster to GM people, right? They sure don't know what a Dart Sport is. They know Duster. Sometimes they know Demon. They never know what a Dart Sport is. Junkyard D says, evening, lady and gents. Hello, Junkyard D. Levi says GM was just waking up before 73. Ron Ward says a Duster is a fastback scamp. I could see that. I could kind of go along with that. Maybe it's a scamp sport. Dart Sport was the cop out after the Demon. Dart Sport is the name. Some people in the religious lobby were going nuts over the name Demon. So after the second model year, Dart Sport was the new name for it. For those of you who don't know that. So it's 71 and 72 model years only, because the Demon itself was 1 year behind model years on the Duster as it was. And it was a straight up copy of the Duster. It even had the Duster's rear wheel well. Normally Dodges had their own wheel wells separate from Plymouth, front and rear. They didn't even do that. It has the same wheel well on the back as the Plymouth, and they just changed the front sheet metal. It was kind of a lazy copy of a Duster. Old McDonald thinks Chevy guys should love Duster bodies who look just like a Chevelle. That's why Ford people who don't know GM or Chrysler call them Novas. Levi said, "Isn't the Dart Sport like a shorter Demon or something weird like that?" No, not at all. The Dart Sport was a 73 model year, so of course it had the beak front end and that kind of sheet metal. But a Dart Sport Demon Duster are all 108-inch wheelbase. Whereas most of the sedan style A bodies were 111, like the Scamp, the Dart were 111. The Valiants were shorter; they were 108, and you can see that in the area between the door and the rear wheels. Most of the old parts is, I wish they kept the Demon taillights for the Dart Sport. I agree. Those were super cool. That said, the Dart Sport taillights are pretty cool too. I like that style okay. But you know, as with most things on cars, you'll notice the first ideas are the better ideas. And then as they change for the sake of change, they get away from those original visions that were better most of the time. It's just too much. If those ideas were the best part of the vision to start with, it would have looked like that in the first place. Most of the time, I like the first versions of cars before they make a bunch of changes. Not always, but usually. Lunar says, "I love your response when I bring things like whatever all those letters are. I think those are Japanese engines. I think they're either Japanese engines, escalator parts, accordions, typewriters, barcodes in the grocery store. I don't know." Ron says, "The 73 had the funky spool-type motor mounts, but had the good disc brakes and spindles." Yes, they did. They did have the goofy spool-type motor mounts. Oh, and someone butchered mine. They just butchered it, so the engine wouldn't sit flat in it if it needed to. That's got to be fixed somehow. Demon was some of the coolest taillights ever. I agree. Here we go. Well, you like to find a gray cloud with every silver lining, don't you, Mexican Spec? He mentioned it was shorter, so it was not. The shark grill on the 71s is the best. That would be the 71 Duster, had that shark grill. I believe Blake's Duster has that grill. Ron Ward says, "Good point about the early vision. Case in point, 68 to 72 A body versus 73 and newer." Well, that one I don't blame entirely on change for the sake of change, because the federal crash standards in 73 put a lot of pressure on the automakers. They had to do all the weird stuff with bumpers and stuff. So I cut them some slack on that, because that wasn't all their choice. But a good example of that would be like the Ford trucks. When they came out with the new Ford truck in 67, I really liked that styling. And then they just kept adding stuff to it. And then I just think the truck looked a lot better in 67 than it did by the end of the run in 72. Then they redesigned it all for 73. So usually I like those earlier versions. Mohawk says, "I heard something about a Scamp." Indeed, we brought up a Scamp because we were talking A-body Mopars. And of course, Scamps come up in that. And only Mopar people even know what a Scamp is. Ford and GM people don't. They'll call it anything else. 71 Demon Grill was pretty sweet too. I agree. I saw so I'm pretty good with those darts because I have one. But that 71 Demon Grill was the same grill was in the 70 Dart. The difference is the 71, they painted the center. They blacked it out instead of having it Argent silver. But it was a good-looking grill. It was 2 years only, 70 Dart, 71 Dart, and Demon. But they had the paint slightly different in 71. And what's funny is you'll see these guys that don't really realize that, and they'll piece all these pieces together, and then the grill is 5 pieces, and they'll have headlight doors from one, and they'll have like one signal light piece from another, and the center out of another, none of the paint matches. So it's kind of like how Chrysler did the rally wheels in 70 were all light Argent, or the wheels were all Argent, but the center caps were light Argent in 70 and dark Argent in 71. Then in 72, they went to the star style. And a lot of people don't realize that either, and they wind up with mismatched colors, and then only then figure it out. So that's two places where that's pretty common. Mexican Spec said they mixed up all the Dodge and Plymouth parts in Mexico, so I'll go with what you say and what car had what grill. Yeah, well, they get all mixed up here too. I saw a post that someone made on a Dart, and it looked like a 70 Dart. Somebody else said a 71. Looked like a 70 because the hood script is different in 70. It's a chrome script in the middle. 71 had it off to the side. The grill looked decidedly 71, but then it had the swinger emblem on the quarter panel instead of the front fenders. That's also 70. So I'm going with 70 with a 71 grill on that one. Dizzy Izzy said, evening, No Name Nationals, folks. Scamp is also a fish that swims with cudas and stingrays. Okay. Yeah, the Mexican car market is neat and intriguing. I saw a Mexican Spec make a post on a Buff and Kim live saying that he could find a little Mercury Zephyr wagon, but it will be a manual transmission when in Mexico, which is so cool to me. He said that, I'm like, oh, it's so tempting. A wood grain Mercury Zephyr wagon with a 4-speed. Like, man, I'd love it. That'd just be the coolest daily. Really, it would. What would that cost, Mexican Spec? You were talking about that. They had that Zephyr wagon. I mean, what would that cost in US dollars? I probably don't want to know. It'd be too tempting. Ralph Nader screwed a lot of cars. I actually heard Ralph Nader speak live one time. He was at Virginia Tech, and I'm like, why not? So I just went over there. Ran into a lot of people I knew. It's like, man, I wasn't expecting to see you here. That was the comment I got. I'm like, why not? He was here. Mexican Spec said a Scamp was the Plymouth version of the Rampage pickup truck. Well, that's interesting. Never heard that before. We forgot the Swinger. Well, the Swinger, when you say Dart and Swinger, Swinger is an option package on the Dart. I mean, pretty much a Custom was a 4-door and a Swinger was a 2-door those years. Swinger came out for $69. The Swinger was a Valiant. I don't know what we're talking about there. Yeah, he likes his 71 dark custom grill. But the 71 grill had the dark centers. And a lot of people paint them. They don't get that right if they're going for correct. 70 would be a hard grill to paint correctly because if you actually look at it properly, the Argent is on the top. So where there's a cast line in the middle of the grill where they made the plastic, well, it's not a cast line, a mold line in the middle of the grill. The upper half is Argent, light Argent, and the inset, the base is, I don't know how they painted those things, but it wasn't easy. So it'd be kind of tricky to properly paint a 70 grill. So people just don't. They just paint the inside, the inset part black, and they paint the raised parts in Argent. Sometimes they paint them weirder ways still, which when people just fog those grills all one color, it drives me crazy. I can't even look at the car. Mohawk likes the vertical taillights. Yeah, they looked great. Wrong Ward says 72 for Mopar was an ugly stepchild year. The side marker lights looked like an afterthought, so the purchasing department bought all the trailer lights from J.C. Whitney. I think they ran those lights all the way up into the 80s. I want to say like an 86-7 Dodge Omni had that exact same marker light, the very same one. And if you look at it, like on an Omni, up in the 80s, it would have like DOT 72 or something on that lens. But they were. It just I don't like the look of it. 68 was an afterthought light. So they just stuck the round one on everything. But to me, it's kind of charming. I like that. I like those round marker lights that were literally an afterthought in Universal. But then when they did them for 69 and 70 and 71, they were all inset, had nice bezels, flowed with the body lines. They had it perfect. And then in 72, they went with that goofy thing that stuck off the side. So there's a certain YouTuber I don't agree with on much, but when he says that 70 was like that high water mark for cars, I totally agree. And I'll say the best cars are found a decade on each side of that. But after that, it wasn't about the cars. It was about regulations and stuff. And those marker lights are just a reminder of that. They looked so much better when they were recessed into the body. Mexican Spec said, there are a lot of original unmolested dusters here. I know them by the parts they had here. Yeah, cool. 68 Mopar, best marker lights ever, according to Danny Boyd. I like them. I thought they were great. The only thing I didn't like about them is they kind of put them in some weird locations. Like some of them were mounted really, really high on the front fenders, but they weren't even in a symmetrically appealing place. I didn't like the placement of them too much. Like I think on the Chargers, they weren't quite in the right spot. They didn't fit the body line right, but they were neat. I kind of like them. It's a one-year thing. It's unique to 68. I like it. Yeah, he says there's a lot. I'm just curious about the ballpark. I don't know. Mexican Spec said they had a two-door hardtop 68 Valiants. They look good. Yeah, neat. Neat. So Colleen says she loves the recessed marker lights on her Charger. Yes. Ron says, was 69 the final year for the Dart GTS? I believe it was. Yes, they didn't have that in 70. In 70, you had the Swinger and Swinger 340, and the four doors were customs. So, yes, 69 was the final year for that. And the Dart GTS was a big block car. You couldn't get a big block in the Dart after 69 model year. Which is weird to me because they made the engine bay wider for the 67 model year in the A bodies, supposedly, so they could put big blocks in them, but they only did it a short amount of time. And they don't really fit that great, in my opinion. The headers are miserable. The headers are pretty miserable on a small block. They're worse on a big block. So I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know what they were thinking. But yeah, for 3 years, you had factory big block A bodies there. And then even once the Demon came out for 71, you didn't see any more 340s and Darts. It was all Demon. So that was a short-lived thing too. Danny Boyce has always thought about a 67 to 69 Valiant in the hardtop. I got to tell you something that kind of grows on me that I really like are these post cars. And the coupe style that I like those. I actually like the 68 Dart post cars like NSB Customs. A lot of people don't, but I do. I think they're cool. And again, that was 68. I believe 69 you could. I'm not 100% sure. I know 68 you could. Ron, do you know if you could get this? I don't think you could get the 69 Dart in a post car, could you? Coupe style with the fixed rear glass. I think 69s were all hard tops, weren't they? 68, I know for sure you could, and 70, I know for sure you couldn't. But I'm thinking 69, you could not. I think they were all hardtop. I do know 69 was the last year for column shift manual transmission, 3 on the tree. And those were very uncommon. Column shift manual, bolt actions. In fact, something else really rare, even though I've never seen one on the column that were all floor, was a manual transmission at all in a 70 Dart, because that was the year that automatic became standard and manual transmission was a no-charge option. Well, it was $287 option to get an automatic transmission in 69, and then in 70 it became standard, so people just flocked to it. That's why you rarely ever see a manual transmission in a 70 Dart. But you could get them, they were just very rare. Ron Ward says, those of you with 68 to 70 B-body Mopars, keep in mind the door handles were used up into the late 80s on B-Series. Hey, I never thought about that. Dude, I never thought about that. The door handle on my van is the same as that Roadrunner. Ha! Is that inside and outside door handle? I never even thought about that. Dude, that made my day. Because I noticed that Roadrunner's got the black plastic push button, which I hate. And I don't know why, because the A-bodies had a metal, chrome metal push button like it should be. I know the 70 did. I don't know what year a Dart would have gone away from. I don't even know. But yeah, why Roadrunner 69 is a cheesy black plastic push button, I don't know. That's very interesting. Mexican Spec said on the 68 Chrysler 300, the front side marker light was in the bumper, but it was square. Okay, that's weird. I've never paid enough attention. I had to look at that. I thought they were all those little round things. Ron says, I agree with the 68 side marker lights. We used one off the rear of a 68 Barracuda as our nitrous armed light on the dash. No race. That's really cool. I like that. They would be good for universal stuff like that. Mexican Spec said it looks like there was a 70 Dart GTS in Mexico. Never heard of one here. Never heard of one anywhere, actually. Ron says the stock big block A-body exhaust manifolds were horribly misshapen. Yeah, there really wasn't room for there. And also, running first place in the No Name 500 is Stinger Salvage. He's at 446 subs. He needs 54 more. Very confident he's going to make it, but he's taking his time. But if you've not yet checked out Stinger Salvage's channel, go check it out. He's got some cool stuff he's doing with a C10 truck. Go check him out. Now, Danny Boyd's talking sacrilege here. I wonder if anyone ever used 8 of those marker lights to make Buick-style porthole. Oh, man, please don't. I'd hate to see somebody drill up fenders for that. That'd look terrible. And we'll say hi to Mean Street Mopar. How's it going, Ken? Junkyard D beat me to it. 38 Races. I like the 68 marker light as well. Even have a pair on the 50. Did you put Dodge marker lights on a 59 Chevy? Unfinished Project puts up the link to Lone Wrench Garage. He's at 281 subs. Again, he's close. We've already talked about this. The second half will come quicker than this. The second half will come quicker than the first half of the subs. And Indecisive Garage, they're neck and neck. He's at 263. Danny Boy says B bodies were proper pillared coupes and A bodies were full-fledged. I'm not sure what you mean there. A hard top is where all the glass rolls down and there's no fixed post there. And the coupe is a post car with fixed rear glass and a fixed B pillar. So, but B bodies came that way also. 69 Dodge Dart 2-door sedan. But what does that mean? Is that a hard top where all the glass rolls down and no fixed B pillar? I don't know how much Freiberger did. I know one thing. They all are. Ron says, I'm not sure about the 69 Dart 2-door sedan. I know the Valiant was available. Yeah, see, I don't think there was. I don't think you could get a fixed B-pillar post car fixed rear glass in a 69 Dart. Mexican Specs that I posted for sale a nice 68 Dart GTS. They put a big hood scoop on the race to it. Of course they did. There's nothing like taking a one of, 1,900 cars and butchering up the hood. Yeah, Jason's with me. I don't think the Dart was available in a 2-door sedan. And if you say a sedan, I don't know what sedan means. Coupe and hardtop. Coupe had rear glass that didn't roll down and hardtop did. What do we mean by that? Dean says the 78 Fairmont still had a 3-on-the-tree column shift. The last of the 3.03s and Foxes. What does that mean? 3-liter? Not the inside door. Okay. Well, the vans have a little flat door handle that kind of looks like it. That's why I wondered. Because the outside, yeah, I can see that immediately now. It's just, I don't know why I've never noticed that. I have both right here. One there and one there, and I've never noticed it. Never noticed it until you said that. Exactly, Junkyard D. We just found out something we didn't know. Barrow's Garage. Howdy, sir. Damien's daughter's middle. Yes, yeah, it's a 70 did for sure. I know. 71, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's on my 73 Dart Sport, but I think it is. In fact, I can probably look pretty easy because now I want to know. I'm going to look. I hope I have a picture handy of it somewhere. I thought I did. I'm going to look now. Let's see. I don't even know what it has. It's on my own car. And the pictures I have, of course, aren't good enough to tell. I can't even tell. I can't even tell in the photo. Now I kind of want to run out there and look, but which does it have? Which does it have on a 72? What did they stop doing that on A-bodies? I would guess 72 would be like 71. 73 would be the different year if I had to guess. Ron says, oddly, my low option 69 Roadrunner came with chrome push buttons. I would have figured black, but the car had white interior. Well, I don't know. My Roadrunner is it's a non-AC car. I don't believe it was air grabber. And it has the black push buttons. It just seems weird. There's somebody that knows all about that, though. Mexican Specs said, I've never seen a 70 Dart GTS for sale. They must not have sold many. I don't know if they made one. You said you saw one. I don't know. Yes, Ron, we had Deke on last week, and he had tech problems. I think it was the internet, and I think what it was is he has the same internet, but I think StreamYard now demands more of it, and he was having problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to troubleshoot, have Deke on again. He was on last week, but it just, we couldn't quite get good connection. We had to kind of, punt and back up, but we're going to have Deke on very soon. So yes, that is the correct. That is going to happen. Dust Devil Garage says, I still see the best marker lights were on the 71 Roadrunner. So yeah, they were good. Yeah, all of those from 69 to 71 look great. So Ron also says an A-body sedan had a frame around the door glass. A B-body coupe did not. Okay. Yeah, I guess you're right. Now I think about that, you're right. Yeah, like a Roadrunner did not. That's true. I hadn't thought about that. Mexican Specs, there were fewer cars sold in Mexico than the U.S. They sold 1,900 be a miracle. Well, here, I believe they did here. That's just off the top of my head. Oh, they're in the grill. Well, see, now I'm going to notice it. Now I'm definitely going to notice that, Ray. Danny Boyd's is a true sedan, has the B pillar, more formal C pillars. Well, I think Chrysler called that a hardtop if you had windows that rolled down on both with no B pillar. Mean Street Mopar might be headed up to Cope's neck of the woods next weekend to pick up some parts for the 440. I'll have to see if Cope will give me a tour. Yeah, go check it out. But I will tell you, I'm not speaking for him, of course, but he won't on the weekend. Don't count on that. That's lake time. But during the week, maybe. And Friday is like usually the day he works on his own stuff there. But what I'd recommend doing is you head it up, shoot him a message, email him. CopeRacingTrans@AOL.com. Just shoot him an email and let him know and see what his stuff is, his time and all. And if you do go there, get a picture with my parking spot. He'll know exactly what you mean. Get a picture with my parking sign. I collect those. I want to do a little contest with them too. Jason says the two-door sedan had the roof line of the four-door. A two-door coupe had the roof line of the hardtop, but had a pillar and fixed glass. Yes. Oh, man, that's weird. Yeah, the roof line was a little different. The windshield back glass are a little different. Ah, okay. We're talking about the 303 ratio. Or we're talking about the 303 center gearbox short 4-speed top loader. Okay, that I kind of vaguely remember that now. It's Ford stuff, but the A-body post cars were actually sedans. The door glass was surrounded by a frame on the door, thus making them. Yeah, okay, that's just bizarre. I'm trying to think what NSBs looks like. I don't see enough of these things, all the different models and all, to know, but that's interesting. I learn a lot from this chat. Danny Boyd says 67 Chevelles were true sedans with a different C-pillar, but the Buick Olds and Pontiac entries used the hardtop C-pillars and roofline. Mexican Spec says bring a transmission with you. None of the Dodge, Chrysler, Plymouths on my property have plastic buttons. I don't know why. I guess it's an A body. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think my Dark Sport does. I think it is a chrome button. Yeah, the frame was screwed to the roof and rear quarter to form. Okay, so it didn't have a real pillar, but it was a fixed glass. Okay, that makes sense. Did you know Chrysler AC cars came with tinted windows? You know what? It almost vaguely seems like I've heard that somewhere. It's just one of those things that didn't make it enough in my mind to remember it. Dean tells us twice now that Deke has valve seat recession. All I know is the factory AC cars had this huge hole in the firewall I never did like. Ron likes the 71 side marker lights. Yeah, they all worked. It's a shame they had to just go to something that was de-evolution. I just never liked it. Then in 73, they did all the stuff with the bumpers and everything else. It all just went downhill from there. So, and we tried to do this once in here, and I couldn't necessarily think what it'd be. If we go by the year of our birth, I'm a Malays era person. I was born in 77, and we were asking what car we would have from the year of our birth. And I'm thinking, so, if you were born in, 68, 9, 70, 71, 67, any of those years, you had your pick of anything, right? But in 77, I would say a 77 Dodge Monaco, like a Hunter, that TV show Hunter in the dark green with the police wheels, a 400 automatic. That would be it. I always thought that would be a really sweet travel car. But I do not want to build one. Yeah, I know, Junkyard D. Isn't that neat that he did that? It is neat. It creeps me out that somebody put that on a Chevrolet, but it is kind of neat. Yes, Ron Ward also has a parking spot. This is true. There's reserved parking for the voice of the No Name Nationals, and that is Ron Ward exclusively. Ron also says A-body coupes were first and second generation Barracudas, Dusters, and Demons. Yep. More obscure things when you see that in the dark. Danny Boyd says some more dense side and high boiler. Now, see, he also knows this interesting Ford stuff I don't know. If you look at the bed floor on a dense side, which would be a 73 to 79 Ford truck, you can see the reliefs in the floor ribbing for bolt placement for the narrower high body frame. I never knew a high body had a narrower frame. Really? That's wild. Had no idea. Ron says factory AC cars are way too heavy. So are factory power steering cars, factory power brake cars, factory power window cars. I agree with that. Barrow's Garage says, my 58 Ford Club Sedan looks like a hard top, and everyone thinks it is, but the Club Sedan's a half-inch B-pillar that looks like a window frame. Oh, that's just too weird. Busted Radio Chris, how you doing? Thanks for coming by. What's up, all? Is everyone about ready? No Name Nationals 2025 is coming soon. It's coming in 47 days, 3 hours, and 3 minutes. Who in the world is already ready? Ron says, I recently had a conversation with a local used car salesman over a couple adult beverages. I told him to sell me a car without using the word loaded. The look on his face was priceless. I never use that term. That's just weird. I mean, loaded. You carry your guns loaded. You get your baked potato loaded. I mean, it seems weird to use that as a description for a car. Mohawk says, another thing Chrysler, Dodge, and Plymouth did was put the engine like 1.5 inches towards passengers. I think it's 1 3/4 to be exact, but you are correct. They did. And it's because for whatever reason, they thought that the starter and the steering box needed to go on the same side, which was dumb. It's hard for me to dock Chrysler because they did so many things right and better than GM and Ford, but that was one that didn't make any sense. That starter should have gone on the passenger side like GM did. And GM has it bolted to the engine like it should. I give GM credit for that. Unfinished Product said, John Worthy made the curved glass work in the standard doors. Without him figuring that out, the Duster might not have been. That's some interesting trivia. I know one thing, that those door glasses are a lot harder to deal with in those Dusters, Demons, Dark Sports. The door shell itself, I believe, is the same, but all that window hardware is different. Well, I don't think that loaded goes with fat cars any more than stripper does. Of course, you know what I think of when you say stripper. I think of stripper clips like you use to load a rifle, right? Ron says, I asked him to find me a 2001 to 2005 Honda Civic Coupe with a 5-speed. He emailed me 2 ads. Both were for 4-door cars. I've seen CRVs those years with a 5-speed. That's uncommon. Rarely see 5-speed CRVs, but they made them. There's William, Charger 383 Mopar, the winner of the first burnout competition ever at the No Name National, with his iconic photo of the cloud rising hundreds of feet above the burnout pit. In fact, that helmet up there is retired with William's sticker on it because he wore that during that burnout. And there you go. Have you got a Bell crash helmet for your skeleton yet? Junkyard D said the driveline offset was just for the starter. I thought was to add room for the driver. I don't know why necessarily they did it, but I know if they didn't do it, there's no way you'd ever gotten the starter on the same side. That didn't make any sense to me. I mean, I just figured that's why. Now, I know on the vans, they moved the engine 3 inches to the passenger side to give the driver more foot room. They did that on the vans. So Williams said the Red Rocket won't make it to the burnout pit, but it will be at No Name Nationals. Well, cool. We're looking forward to seeing it. Barrow says those Mopar power steering boxes are huge. Yes, they were. They had to gain room somewhere. But if you want to see true weird Mopar, look really close at an early A-body. Not only is it offset, it's crocked as well. How is it cocked? I know it's offset, but I didn't know that. Danny Boyd says, my parents walked away from the Plymouth dealer in the mid-'70s when the salesman asked, what's it going to take to put this car in your garage? Sounds like a real operator. Is that the only place he uses that line? Ron says he has a Civic like that in his driveway, 226,000 miles, and still knocks down 44 miles a gallon. I just got the CRV inspected this week, 370,000 miles and change. on the original water pump, original ball joints, and tie rod ends, it would shock you what all on that car is original. CV axles, 2 of the boots have been gone for years. It never had front wheel bearings. The strut on the driver's side is making a lot of racket. I needed to put struts on the front. But it would just blow your mind how much has not been changed on that 370,000 mile CRV. Running and driving. Cool. I like it. So you're going to cruise the pits in that? And for those unfamiliar, tell them what the Red Rocket is, William, a.k.a. Charger 383 Mopar. Tell our new folks what that is you're building there. Most of the old part says, I don't recall our 62 Valiant being cocked. I don't either. We pulled the aluminum slant 6 and dropped in a 360 with a big hammer, but the drive line was straight from front to back. I was thinking that too. But I know it is offset. I believe it's 1 3/4 inches. And the early A bodies are even a little bit narrower in the engine bay than the 67 to 76 A bodies. What's always kind of weird to me is when you see things, changes that have been made on cars, and then you see things that kind of don't make any sense anymore, and you have to know the origin of how they got that way in the first place. And it's like the vestigial organ thing, like whales that have hip bones and stuff like that. So it's kind of neat to me because cars have that kind of stuff too. Big Block 402, Stephen, howdy. Hey, John, hope you're doing well. And his brother is now registered for the No Name Nationals as well. Looks like the Team Myrick is going to be bringing the heat again this year, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys. Mohawk said, I think on the Cooter shaker hoods, they had to offset the lid to line up. Yes, because they offset the engine. That is correct. And for those who are not familiar, the Red Rocket is a big block 440 powered 79 Cushman Halster with a straight front axle, narrowed 8 3/4 rear end. So for those who didn't know that, for real, that's going to be a No Name Nationals. But he's not ready to send it in the burnout pit just yet. Barrow says early AA bodies, the tail of the transmission is 3.5 inches to the right side, but the crank pulley is center. The radiator core support is a 1/2 inch inset to the left side for the fan angle. Oh, that just sounds weird. That sounds wild to me, Barrows. Did a video with his 65 Dart when the carpet is out. You'll see it in the tranny hump. Oh, that's just bizarre. Ron says 60 to 66 A-body K-frames are easier to work with when transplanting a small block. Yeah, I can totally see that. The 67 to 76 slant 6 cars need a whole different K-frame or heavy modification. Didn't realize that. Big Block 402 says, I'm 2 days post-op on my second knee replacement. I will have SSR Performance driving Candy Cane for me this year. Okay, so Big James will be doing the driving job for Candy Cane this year, or someone with his channel. But Big James, it looks like, is going to be driving the Candy Cane. That's going to be a great combo. Looking forward to it. But I still hope you will be there. We want to see you. And are you planning on entering in Triple Crown? Well, guessing he's got a ringer driving, I bet he is. Well, he can't enter that truck in. So, because that truck is, unless he's put a small block in it. But it's offset when the V8 got added. I'm not sure. So not this year. I have the 402 back in now. Couldn't get the small block done in time. So no Triple Crown for this year. Most of the old parts. Barrows, could you post up the link to that video? I'm now very curious. I didn't encounter this issue. That is true. If one of our mods is listening, I believe Unfinished Project can. I don't know if Barrows has a wrench or not, but Unfinished Project isn't here. Can you put up the link to Barrows' video about his 65 Dart where he shows offset? Because I am too. I've never seen that. Back in 63, what a special time for me. I was negative 14. My painters found a travel itinerary of my grandmother's in a closet that they were working on. I didn't know was there. And they said, did they mention you? And I looked at the date on it. It was 74. I said, nope, no one mentioned me. So William sent me a picture. I'll show you guys. Here is that wild Cushman for those who have not seen it. It is exactly what he described, a Cushman with a 440 and an 8 3/4. Not ready to send it to burnout pit? What do you like, William? And what about SSR? Will they be fielding the Triple Crown card? From what I hear, they will. So no tunnel ram on the truck this year, but it does have an Edelbrock VRS on the 402, and it works great. Cool. Needs a roll cage. I could see that. I don't think you'd have much protection if that thing flipped. What kind of cage are you going to do? Do a mild steel? I mean, I'm sure nobody makes a kit for it, so. But it does look like you'd have plenty of room to get that cage in and weld it up and all that. It looks like it would be a good vehicle to cage, even though you'd be starting from scratch. When you cage it, are you going to make it kind of like a unibody and weld it all up together? Most likely the driver will be Greg, Big James' dad. Okay. Not exactly sure what kind of cage, but it'll have one. Well, you know what you could do? Well, I was gonna say you could do like a funny car style cage in it pretty easily, but you might want to do one, for the whole interior, because that would be a good one to tuck it up and hide it out of the way in that big cab that it has. Junkyard D dares William to do a short at O'Reilly's ordering a cage for the Red Rocket. Here's a link to Barrows' video right here. There you go. Yeah, Unfinished Project's a good dude like that. He helps out a lot. I greatly appreciate him. He is really on top of stuff. I appreciate that very much. We have a great mod crew here. And William says to trust me, when I get this thing going, I'm going to have all kinds of fun with it. It does sound like a neat build. I'll give it that. When he first said he was going to do it, I couldn't even picture how that would work. But I got to say, as he's done it, it's come together pretty nicely. It's pretty neat. He's done a neat job with that thing. Williams said, I never had a complete plan from the start. I'm just building it and seeing how it turns out. Okay. That's cool. I mean, it's not like there's a blueprint to go by. I've certainly never seen this done before. Has there ever been a Mopar powered Cushman anywhere? Steven says, most of my time this year has been spent in rehab. Glad I only have 2 knees. Yeah. Yeah, and a knee replacement is a good job. But you got yours done laparoscopically and you were up walking quickly, right? I mean, be glad it was done, you know, in this century, because people had it done years back and a whole lot worse. Gosh, I'm glad I don't have to need anything like that yet. Barrows says UP beat me to it, but yeah, there's a couple of videos I found as more of those oddities as I went. Yeah. Ron says, William, I hope you don't have the issue we have around here in Topeka. We have 2 well-respected race car shops that do amazing cage work, but they're pushing work out 2 to 3 years. They are swamped. Yeah, that's true. Everywhere anyone good, that's the thing. William says, I've seen a Chevy small block powered Cushman similar to my 65, but no Mopar power. Well, I figured there'd be Chevy powered ones. That's why I didn't even ask. Why even bother? But yeah, Mopar powered ones. Steven says, robotic assisted, but it's still painful. Yes, recovery is much faster than 15 years ago. Yes. Not that it's ever fun. And just to share with you guys, this creeps me out that this is even a thing, but Cope says that they watch me on the TV. A lot of people do watch me on the TV, and it's just kind of weird to think that I'm literally bigger than life on people's walls like that. How many of you guys watch this live stream on a television? How many of you watch it on a computer? And how many watch it on a phone? That'd be kind of interesting for me to know. And what really surprises me by the view numbers, I bet you a little more than half of the total views on this come in podcast style where people listen to it during the week during a commute. So it really surprises me how many people listen to this on replay during their work week. And that's why, even though I know everybody here is illiterate, I will still read every question I put up. And I try not to just answer questions without to this later. And this makes it more listenable, except when I have buffering like that. But yeah, that's the reason for that. And I didn't even do that until I realized how many people were listening to this on Monday or Tuesday or something on a drive. But the numbers were very interesting to me on that. Barrow says it's the big reason I pulled the plug on swapping that Y block into the dark, because I figured I have to cut most of the floor out to straighten it for a Ford, and the car's too good to cut up. Okay, I can see that. Charger 383 Mopar says the world's first gasser 440 powered Cushman. Okay, Jason Falk, the winner here. My friend Indirect Connection answers that. Dart Sport is a chrome push button, as I was thinking, but he answered that. And in case you thought they might have done one on one side and one on the other, they did not. So good. Thank you. And Colleen answers the question. Do they watch me on a TV? Yes, they do. Colleen, that looks like it's on the outside, like in a carport or something. That looks, it's exterior siding. Is that like an addition built on the side of the house? And if it were built today, it'd be LS powered. I reckon. I actually like the LS. I got nothing bad to say about it. When I first looked at the parts, I thought some of them looked kind of spindly, but those things, they have a good reputation and they've earned it. I know people don't like it because they're so common. Here's the thing, though. The LS gets a lot of hate because it's common, but those of us who are old enough to remember, like if you're like, my age or older, you know full well that the small block Chevy got this kind of hate when it was the common engine all the time, right? Am I right? And now the engine that's the lightning rod for the common swap is the LS. Mohawk watches me on all three. Well, that's just plumb scary. Russell says he does everything on the phone. William does on the PC. Well, I do my live streams from a laptop computer because I can take it with me for remote and do work on it. However, even though it's a laptop, I've got external lighting. I've got an external camera because if I bump the desk like I did just there, it doesn't shake the camera. So I got it mounted on a table back behind the desk. So my setup is a little different. And also I got my laptop raised up so that I'm not looking down to look at comments. It's a good setup here. But I do the phone. I do a lot with the phone. And Jay's got me on a TV too. Well, that's amazing. I'm surprised how many people. That's frightening to think I'm bigger than life on people's walls like that. But apparently it's a lot of people. And Thumper was watching on the TV while he was making food. Okay, neat. Junkyard D's watching on the TV, commenting on the phone. That's a good that's a good way to do it. Kind of hard to comment on the TV. Matt Travers does phone and TV. Indirect Connections got the update. Yes, complete with photos. And it's a 75. Okay, that's interesting. Danny Boy watches on a desktop, but it's a 27.5 by 15 monitor. Boy, that is a big one. Let's see. Colleen says, check your email. I check my text, but I don't see anything in my email from you. Danny Boy said Ford sold Y blocks in Brazil into the 70s and 80s. Ron says, I tune in on a Pentium 2 with dial-up. Have a stack of free 1,000 hours of AOL CDs. Are you for real? Is that even a thing? Lowry's Garage says, I'm on the TV in the shop. Cool. Well, I will say, as much as I appreciate you guys having me on the TV in the shop, that's great. But we do have a family-friendly channel here. So you guys who are here regularly know that. Those of you who are guests, just know this is a family-friendly, safe live stream that you can have on in your living room if you wanted to. And so is the No Name Nationals. And anything I'm going to do on YouTube is going to be. But that said, watch wherever you like. That's a great thing about technology. We've got all these portable ways to watch things. Thumper says he's watching on a TV because the PC monitor is 65-inch in 4K. Wow. I have a 55-inch TV at the treehouse and a 55 for my classroom, but I didn't watch TV for probably 10 years. And so now on the rarest of occasion, we'll watch the TV I gave my mom a few years ago. But I'm just not a TV person. But I don't know, one of these years I may get a little crazy and put a big old monitor here. I don't know. Ron says you got to use the gut side of the B-body handle on the van handles. Okay. Yeah, but it's still the same handle itself. That's neat. I like it. Carport, 742. So it's in the carport. So that TV is still open to the elements, except it's not getting rained on. It's under the roof, but it's still open to the elements. That's kind of neat. I don't know why not. Ron says the LS is going to be amazing when they adapt carburetors and distributors in droves for circle track use. Well, the carb is easy, and the distributor, I'm assuming they can just do a belt drive one that runs off the crank, right? I would think that will be the way to get both a carb and a distributor on an LS. Thumper says, I still hate the small block Chevy. I don't hate it, but there's a lot of stuff I look at it and I'm like, Mopar showed you the way to do this. I mean, why do you do it that way? I think the small block Chevy probably has a little better exhaust port on it. I'll give it that. I don't like the short connecting rod. I definitely don't like. What makes no sense to me that small block Chevy is that you have both stud mount rockers, but they were all in line. I'm like, if you're going to use stud mount rockers, use it because you canted the valves, and you can't do it economically on a common rail, right? It's like the worst of both worlds. They're all in a line where they could have used a common rail, and they still use a stub. Now, that didn't make any sense. So there's things but overall, that small block Chevy, I like it. It's a good engine. I think it has a good reputation, and it's earned it, but I think small block Mopar is a considerably better engine. Indirect connection. Jay told me to put it on the TV, but my family's in Tennessee and I can't find the remote. I hate that. I know. I feel that pain. I know what you're talking about. Colleen thinks that her TV's 42, so I'm not bigger than life. Looks like I'm here in person. Okay. I mean, Street Mopar, we need to get to that. And I've got to coordinate that with Lars. I've got to do it. Lars he's Lars of the football game tonight, but we're going to work that out. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Will you be doing a live from your cruise night this year? So if you're talking about that cruise that was on Williamson Road in Roanoke, no, because they stopped doing that because of all the ridiculous, dangerous hooligan behavior and people carrying on and doing all this. It turned into a takeover, just ruined it. So you used to have these guys that would cruise and behave and have their cars, and it's just gotten rowdier and rowdier with thugs every year. And so the city canceled it. And I don't blame them. That's a shame. Danny Boyd says, I turn on my TV a few times a year. Mostly Old Part says, friends, I got to go. Got to be at work at 6 a.m. John, thanks for hosting. See y'all soon. See you soon, Ron, and see you in person next month. So next month is the 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals, and you can see Ron Ward there. I'll be there running around on the grounds. You'll hear Ron in the tower, and we look forward to seeing you guys. If you've not yet registered, there's a link pinned at the top. It's time. It's next month. You got to know what you're doing by now. So I look forward to seeing as many of you there as can make it. It's our one time a year for our family reunion of YouTube content creators, and I really look forward to it. Upper says the small block Chevy was a taxi cab delivery van engine. It's barely adequate and needs the aftermarket to do much anything. Well, but that's the thing. It served really well for that stuff, didn't it? That it did. It had a good oiling system. It was a worthy engine. This is One-Eyed Cat said, I'm back and made it safe to Uncle Sonny's in Ohio. Okay, good. Glad you guys are safe in your travels. Informally unfinished project. Informally. But each year we look for people that do all of their shorts. But I want Lars to be here for that. We're gonna work that out. We're gonna work that out. Informally. Because we had such a small No Name 500 class this year. It's because they re-register as established channels. So that's why the No Name 500 might be smaller, but because they're re-registering as established channels doesn't make the event any smaller. We still had a great class this year. Stupid people ruin everything. Stupid people ruin unimaginable amounts of stuff. They just manage to do it. Hello, Dennis. Glad you're here, man. Lowry says, watching in the shop because 48 days to finish up the trip to get there. Actually, it's 47 days, 2 hours and 34 minutes, but who's counting? Mexican Specs and family reunion is a good way to describe it. That's what it is. You have your relatives and you have your family, right? If your relatives are your family, that's awesome. But it is. It's a big family reunion for us YouTube content creators. Yes, and Colleen says, Ken, this short was my favorite, but it wasn't part of the 30 for 30. Colleen, I asked Colleen to pick a favorite. We want to debrief that a little bit on live. I just want to make sure Lars can be here. I really like having Lars on. Lars isn't, you know, he's quiet. He likes to be more behind the scenes, but I like to drag him out on camera every now and then. Hot Rod Guy Garage says 47 days and a few hours, guys and gals. You need to be turning wrenches. And yes, and he can say that with a lot of credibility because Russell is Mr. Get Stuff Done. He's a good role model. Tim is back in Decisive Garage. Howdy, Dennis. There's a link to Lowry's Garage if you've not yet checked out what he does over there. Deegan says, I see lizard people. That's a very Dean Stevenson-like comment. Twisted Mopar says, been a very long, hard day for me. What's up, man? You've been a rough day? I hope that you're getting to relax and enjoy and come hang out with folks in here. We're glad to have you. So Twisted Mopar, just for fun, I so rarely ever mention this, but it was this morning I was scrolling around, and I don't know how many, I don't know what number valve adjustment this was, but I saw old Rich doing yet another valve adjustment with the engine all in one place and on all the rockers without turning it between, and then tried to start it, and of course it did nothing. And the distributor was just wherever. And anyway, I was just watching that, just 3 years of this. But anyway, just reminded me of it. Danny Boyd says, stupid people suck and Darwin should be given free reign. Well, they do thin themselves out to some extent, but most of them hang around long enough to make everybody else miserable. Mohawk says, another fun fact, small block Chevy was first built by Buick. Their executives didn't like the design, so it was sold to Chevy. I had no idea. That's great. I had no idea. That's kind of neat. But, you know, it served its purpose. I mean, it did. It served its purpose. I won't declare it bad because, you know, it didn't perform like whatever. Danny Boyd said, I knew I had mine wrong from the first time I cranked the starter. Talk about it. Well, yeah. Yeah, you can't just adjust valves just wherever they are. I really think I've got a 305 here, and if I think to do it and can do it reasonably, I'm thinking about doing a little video for him. And you know, I mean, I don't know how, if I do a little video saying, hey, this is exactly how you do this on just a pair of them, he can't possibly get it wrong, could he? Could he get it wrong with that? I mean, I was adjusting valves before I had a driver's license. But anyway, I digress. Twisted Mopar said, it's sad, one of the most easiest parts of an engine is turning into the most dramatic, climactic adventures I've ever seen. Confusion can set in. Ask 5 guys, you get 5 different ways. Well, what I was saying earlier is, I don't want to show him, you know, the technical way that makes you think and understand why, like how, you know, 1 and 6 are companion cylinders and all this. That is unhelpful. What I want to do is show him how to get a pair of them on the seats of the valves and do a pair of them. They get the next pair on the seats of the valves. And the easiest way to do that is watch your exhaust open and close. And as the exhaust is almost finished, the intake opens and closes. And then just bump it one more time to make sure you're past where the intake closed. And there you go. You got a pair of them on the seats. You got a pair of them on the base circle. Adjust them and be done. And go to the next pair on the same side. Don't hop around. Next pair on the next side. 4 pairs, put the valve cover back. 4 pairs, put the valve cover back, and it's done. And then you don't have to fool with top dead center. He does not understand what goes on in the engine. I'm dead serious. I don't think he knows the cylinders fire one at a time. I really don't. Anyway, I've never seen him rotate the engine between to do valves either. So who knows? I don't know. All I know, anyway, all I know is I saw more gasoline. He used enough gasoline to melt the small village today, so it was flooded before he started. It was just wild. It was wild. It was wild. It's entertaining, but it's sad. I try not to bring it up, but it was just I saw it today. That's the first live he's done work on the car in a very long time. So I did watch it a while. Can't Comics have been blocked over there for years. I use a breaker bar to turn it over when doing that adjustment. I use a long handle ratchet because a breaker bar can smash your hand. If that thing, the compression comes around, it can smash your hand. Use a ratchet, keeps from doing that. But yeah, I use a really long handle ratchet for doing valves. And he probably has that 283, probably does not have a bolt in the crank, but I think it's threaded for it, and it sure would be helpful. He turns it by the fan, which is okay. It'd be easier if you took all the plugs out of it, but he does. He turns it by the fan. Thumper says, you can call me an engine snob because I'm working with excellent engine design. You are. You know, it's okay. It's fine. I'm looking forward to Thumper running around at Sykeston again this year. And there's lots of ways you can do it, Dennis. Nothing wrong with that. You know, Mopar used to have a sticker that I wonder if I could find that. I bet I can. Mopar used to have here's one right here. Mopar Performance used to have this common valve lash sticker you would see under the hoods on cars. And it would show you where you could turn the crank and which two cylinders you would do them. But look at that thing. See, to me, that is just adding a ton of confusion. I don't do it that way. I do not do it that way. I do them in pairs. I get an intake and exhaust pair on a cylinder, both on the seats, and then do them both. Then get the next pair on the seats, do them. That's how I've always done it. But the main thing is just do it right. I know, Twisted Dennis, but I think I'm going to do a video. I did a video genuinely to help him with a wheel stud, and his response was to spray paint black over the broken wheel stud and put the wheel back. But that's okay. It's never going to drive anyway, so it doesn't need 5 good wheel studs. Okay. That's easy when all the valves are stuck up. Well, you replace valves and never lapped them in the head anyway, so who knows if they even seal, even if they are on the seats. And then complaining because 18 people were watching, no one could come. Yeah, they're all blocked. That's why. I was one of those. It's wild to talk about this other part of YouTube that doesn't function as a community of people who get along like over here. Oh, yeah. It's all good. I love the diversity of makes and stuff and builds over here. I just think it's great. Indecisive Garage, I like adjusting the valves on my. Yeah, sure. The Mopar stickers, finally advance the cam. Once you advanced, you can't just use that. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought through, but I don't like that sticker because I don't like that jumping around on both sides like that. I don't like that at all. I like to do them in pairs. And I turn it by hand, so it's not like it's extra wear on the starter. Barrow says Thumper has an oil pressure mystery short at lunchtime. So, yeah, check that out if you haven't already. Dean was one of the 8. Are you blocked, Dean? What trouble did I miss? You didn't miss any trouble. Are you blocked, Dean? Because Rich was hanging out in here a few weeks ago, and I said, hey, man, if you're going to hang out in here, you got to unblock me. You got to unblock Unfinished Project. You got to unblock Ginger Vance, Dean. If you're blocked, he's got to unblock us if he wants to hang out in here. And he's got to behave. None of that complaining stuff. Because here, we don't like all that. We like to say there's good stuff happening. We got our friends. We got whatever health we have in our cars. We got a good opportunity to be together here soon. And we got so much good stuff to talk about. No sense in talking about what we can't do. There's no reason for that. We got positive stuff to talk about here. Thumper says he's already going back together on the 467, need longer push rods. Be back at it, lots of cleaning today. I need to do some yard work so bad it's not even funny. And I also need to put a radiator in the van. And I can't really decide what I want to do first. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I need to do both. Big Block 402 says, I'm working with 2-valve Ford motors, mod motors now. Great engines can get many miles out of them. Well, Andy Wood is the man with that. If you got questions about that power plant, he's our resident expert. In fact, I believe his car held a world record with that engine. Twisted Mopar has a push-button starter switch to go to every cylinder. Yeah, that's what most guys do that have adjustable valves in the race car. What I would do is I had a remote button that I just put on the solenoid. What I don't like doing that with a screwdriver is on that later style solenoid, it just arcs it up and can make a bit of a mess. So I just put the button on there, and I can just hit the button if I need to do it. But that said, I really like the long handle ratchet on the crank. Makes it nice. But if you don't have I got a ratchet with a handle that's like 2.5, 3 feet long. It's as long as a breaker bar, and it's great. But if you had a shorter ratchet, it wouldn't work. And it's a 1/2 inch, so it's not giant. It's real. I think it's a Blackhawk, but it has a round, small head with the little finger wheel on the outside of it, and then this crazy long handle, and it works perfectly for that. Yeah, Wendy's blocked too. Yeah, I'm not surprised. That's okay. He can do his channel however he wants. Barrow says, as a big block Ford fan, I would argue torque design with you, but you guys put the oil pump sump in the right spot. Yeah, that's true. This is true. Colleen says, I need to mow my yard, but it's rained or was over 100 degrees every day. I'll work in the heat, and I'll mow in the rain when I have to. I've got one yard that I mow that is 98 miles from here, and I don't drive 98 miles to leave with an unmowed yard. I've mowed that one in the rain several times, and it's terrible, but I still do it. And when it rains really, really hard, I just roll up in the garage and wait a minute and get back out when the rain slacks up and still mow in the rain. If I know it's going to rain, I just try to do the area around the bank as quick as I can, because that's the area where if I'm going to have a wreck because the yard is wet, I try to do that first. None of that's ideal, but I can't roll up there and not leave with a mowed yard. Twisted Dennis said the weather's great today, and I got to 76 degrees. Okay, that sounds great. Sounds ideal. The rain cooled it off here. I don't know if y'all can hear it, but Jethro's starting to snore over there. He's just taking a nap. I threatened to let him sit in the crate if he couldn't behave during the live. That's all it took. He's like, no, I'm not going in the crate. I'll behave. And he did. He came in here and took a nap. Mater said it hit 105 here today, and now it's raining. And Mater, for those of you who don't know, I believe is just south of Dallas, Texas, I believe. Meanwhile, Thumper has thick Canadian wildfire smoke. It looks super foggy every day. Colleen said it's 79 and raining. I'll take it. Yeah. Crystal says, I'm not blocked. I believe that 10 is incredibly way too good for him. Okay. Well, I just know that a lot of hours have gone in on this, or whatever number valve job. Literally, this could probably be the 5th, 6th, 7th. Who knows how many valve adjustments, but who knows. Big Block 402 says, I'm sticking to 10th generation F-150s, all 2-valve trucks. The spark plug issue is an easy fix. Still doing big block Chevy stuff too. Okay, cool. Whatever works for you, man. I sure enjoy seeing your stuff and you guys coming out to No Name Nationals. Dean says, I don't want to sound uncharitable, but blocking a Kiwi was probably a good idea. Well, he didn't block the Australian. The Australian is still there. Dennis says, I've changed wheel bearings in my truck too. Surprise, surprise, bearing failure. Changed it, then changed 2 axles, wheel bearing seals on a semi-trailer. I'll tell you what, those front wheel bearings in that van were bad when I got it. Really bad. And I got all that straightened out. Mater said, home of the Texas Motorplex. Cool. Australian. Is that right? Is that right? I read a news article where someone was arrested in Queensland, Australia for using pepper spray to protect against a burglar breaking into his house. And so he pepper sprayed the burglar who broke into his house, and the homeowner was arrested and got jail time. Twisted Mopar said, someday I will have the dart sport up and racing. I believe that. You had the Duster up and racing. Well, if I live long enough, I'll have a dart sport up and racing too. But instead, I just have a live stream once a week to remind you guys things like it's 47 days, 2 hours, and 18 minutes until the 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals. Big Block 402 says, I have a 97 regular cab F-150, just picked up a flare side bed. Going to build a Lightning clone. Not sure what powertrain yet, either Navigator or Coyote swap. Wow, Navigator swap is much more affordable. You mean a Navigator North Star? I guess you put it twice. I guess it is Navigator. I like the big Lincoln or something. I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Well, I'll tell you what. For looking at a Lightning clone, talk to Indecisive Garage. He's got a Lightning clone coming to No Name Nationals. Dean says, but I'm a laboratory technician. I can annoy a saint because I've done stuff with advanced DSIR certified equipment. Okay. Thumper says, home invasion in Aussie land, shoot, shovel, and shut up. Oh, well. Sounds to me like you get punished for being a victim there. Rapid Transit Garage says, I'm excited to bring the Barracuda this year to No Name Nationals. Cool. Love it. Crystal said, is sidewalk chalk allowed for the kids to draw on the pavement? That will be a question I would need to ask the track owner, Mr. Possum. And I'll be talking to him, plenty of times in the next little bit. So that's a question I will ask. Indecisive Garage says, my stock 2-valve motor runs in the 11s. And there's a link to Indecisive Garage with his 2-valve motor that runs in the 11s. Bear Rose says, yeah, the intake on the Lincoln Navigator is night and day difference from the standard Ford. Yeah, you guys are talking about stuff I haven't a clue about. Find out when he plays. Yes, I'll be glad to ask him. He and I have been talking about a couple other things too, because as we hone in on this stretch of getting details done, so I'm happy to ask. Indecisive Garage has 2 Navistar 4-valve engines. See, I see 4V and I want to say 4-barrel. I believe you mean 4-valve. Mater says, here in Texas, we don't dial 911, we dial 811. Man, dude, dial 911 for their sake, not yours. If I have that problem, I'm going to dial 911, and hopefully they step it up to protect whoever didn't do their homework when they picked a house to break into. You're welcome. Let's see here. Big Block 402 says, I have 4 F-150s. All are Olympic white. My daughters are driving. Did you just get a deal on a fleet or something? Are those fleet buys? Are they all about the same year? I'm just curious how you wound up with that, Stephen. Junkyard D says, speaking of stupid people, have you heard of the new door kick challenge? I think I've heard of something about that. Man, it's just unbelievable to me that this kind of stuff is even a thing. Laura says JYD sounds ridiculous. It does. Dean says that's because Peckerwood Customs Aaron is a lot smarter than this Kiwi. I think you're both intelligent. Big Block 402 says 97, 03, 08, and 23. So they're all over the place. There goes that idea. But they're all the same color white, huh? Wow. So how is Candy Cane not a 60s Ford in Olympic white? The 08 has 439,000 miles on the original drive. Right on, man. I don't know how you managed that, but that is great. Love it. Mater said, I saw a video of people doing it and getting arrested, kicking a door open. They are lucky to get arrested if they kick a door open. All right. Cope Racing Transmissions has a news flash. Andy Wood is telling me Casper has 220 PSI transmission pressure. It won't be long now. So, going to be exciting. Going to see Casper with overdrive, lockup converter, and a trans brake. 220 PSI, folks. If you know, you know. Big Block 402 says that's 2 sets of timing chains and 1 oil pump still runs. Yeah, that sounds about like those engines. Did you replace the phasers? Were they making noise on it? Because a buddy of mine's got an 08 Ford truck, or 07 or 08, and it's got the cam phasers been making noise for years. And his has a lot of rust. He's got some frame problems. So he says there's almost none of those older F-1 me's here in Wisconsin. They're all rotted completely. Yeah, they do. I mean, my buddy's got the frames just rotting on his. They make caps for them, though. So who knows? We may get to doing that on his. Everything you could want in an automatic. Yes, I agree. I agree. And his is 97's rust-free. He's in Arkansas. That makes a lot of difference. Mater, the place to ask that question, just go ahead and ask it in here. He's got a 46 RE, not shifting out of first. Just post your question in here if Cope is watching. That would be a good place to put it. Indirect Connection says if you want to sell them, come up here. It's not just the Fords either. Yeah. Well, I can tell you, Cope's favorite thing to do on a Friday night is not answer transmission questions. Not answering for him, just saying. But if you're going to ask it in the chat's as good a place to do it. Dean says it's not the cam fader, it's the lack of oil return gumming up the tall deck. Okay. Well, the noise was coming from there. I was thinking he said it was. And there's a tool you use to change them within the motor so that you can leave the chain all tensioned up. It just looks like a disaster. It looks like an engine I'm really glad I don't own. He says, and the 8.8 inch 5 liters. I don't know what that means. Visiting Uncle Sonny, but wanted to say hello, says the one-eyed cat. Howdy. Don, how is your engine swap going? And have you shown Uncle Sonny pictures and told him about it? Is he getting excited for it? Did you tell him that we're putting his transmission back in, the one that had the all thread and the bell housing and all that good stuff? Did you tell him that one's going back in it? Bear Rose says, easy, move the lever to 2 or D. Glad the one-eyed cat could make it. Yeah, Uncle Sonny knows everything going on and loving it. Good deal, good deal. Did you tell him that car is gonna get much quicker this year? Let's see here. Is the gray beast sleeping? Yes, he is. He is zonked out. He is on his side over there behind the office door. He is sleeping good. He's napping pretty good. Yeah, we're not messing with that. All I had to do was tell him the crate was going to happen, and he went and hid. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to get back in here. But then he came back in here and behaved. I don't know, just because he could. He's kind of cooped up today and hadn't been out much. It's been raining, he won't go out. Upper says tomorrow I know exactly where I was and what I was doing 35 years ago. Military, I'm assuming? That's why I didn't say his name. Yeah, you can. I mean, he didn't get too excited about that. And I found some center lines with rubber. Okay, cool. If you're in here, John Cope, Main Street Mopar is planning on going up to Indy next weekend, wondering if you'd show me around the Blues Brothers Movies location. Well, oh man. That's plumb up in Chicago. He's an hour south of Chicago. And Indy is 2 hours farther south of where he is. There's a video from Cope Racing Transmissions. Thumper was stationed in Frankfurt, Germany. Woke up to hear that Iraq invaded Kuwait, and by the 10th it was crazy with airplanes to work on. Wow. Yeah, what is it, Indy, anyway? Cope's still here. Rabbit Transit J says, Main Street, if you're interested in a light bar for the cop car, you can have it. He might have the right light bar for your Diplomat there, Ken. The one-eyed cat's going to have factory steels up front. They look skinny now. I guess so. You got steamrollers in the back of that thing, don't you? So the one-eyed cat's going to be trying to set a personal best ET in Sykeston this year. I'm curious what the Don's car is going to run. I think he said he ran a 1002 in the heat of the day with it last year, and now he's putting in a new 440, considerably more engine. He's putting in a fresh transmission. So it's going to be interesting to see. But he's running a 440 with a factory 7 1/4 rear end with airplane gears. So he might be bringing that rear end back in a paper bag. We'll see what happens. Main Street says it was a thought if it's not possible. But he's in the chat. He's in the chat. I'm just telling you logistically where all these things are, because I didn't really know till I went up there where all that was, because I'd never been to Indiana before. So in Indianapolis, in the middle of the state, and he's an hour south of Chicago on the border with Illinois, and then Chicago, is up there on the lake and all that. So it's just geographically, I'm just telling you where all that is. I really had no idea. Unfinished projects saying Don's going to get in the 8s. He could. He's definitely got what he needs. The rear end, he does not have a lot of gear in that car. He probably needs a little more gear for that. But definitely going to be a lot quicker than it was. Big blocks say a nice stripes on that welding hood. Okay. Dean Stevenson says, typical Ford, don't fix the root cause. I think Ford actually had a technical service bulletin about using abrasive kitchen cleaner to seat rings on a car. And this, I think, when Andy worked at a dealership, for real. Main Street Mopar says, I'm going up there for some 440 parts. Okay, so you're making a run up there for 440 parts. Someone just woke up, but he woke up at the right time. Bon, yeah, right, for real, Danny boy. I think this was on the one on your wall. Yes. So well, first of all, by the way, this is the connecting rod that came through the oil pan on Big Block 402's truck on the track at Sykeston. He had more than one of these. One of them was on the trophy for the Oil Down Award the following year. This one actually is the one I think that went through the pan and won him the biggest oil down. But he's talking about, I thought I'd mention that because not everybody knows what these are on the wall. He's talking about these pinstripes. So Mopar Den found this helmet for me and gave it to me. So that's why it's up there on Mopar Dennis. He's a friend of ours, and I've seen him at Carlisle several years. Love for him to come to the No Name Nationals. Super nice guy, but Mopar Den channel. Twisted Mopar like to run 720 in the dart sport. 720 is the quickest that my dart sport ran. I think it's got more in it. Colleen was talking to Deke about drive shaft loops on her truck. He was talking 9s or 8s. I told him I'll be picking to see 10s. If you're running a drag tire, you need to have a drive shaft loop. Indirect Connection says if you're bored, we're 5 hours north of that or 2.5 hours north of Cope. So there you go. And speaking of Deke had tech problems. We had some problems trying to get his connection to the stream, and we're going to bring Deke back. We were doing a biographical live and then open the floor for tech questions, so we're going to redo that with Deke. We just got to get that worked out, rescheduled, but we're going to do it. Danny Boys is pretty standard protocol. Well, I'll tell you, that just seems wild to me to not fix why those rings wouldn't break in like that. I can tell you, I was there with Andy's engine on the dyno, his boss motor, and the rings broke in super quickly. You could watch the vacuum, just cranking the thing on the dyno. You could see the vacuum change, and the rings were breaking in right there before your eyes. Danny Boys says, I could listen to Deke for a few hours. Those stories were great. So, yeah, I could see that. Danny Boyd says the drive shaft loop with slicks is a good standard. Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of shock, things break. Twisted Mopar said, I think the world of Deke and his wife. Awesome. Yeah, great people. Great people. Big Block 402 said, glad I stopped in tonight. It's been a while. Glad you came by too, man. Anytime. All right, Lars puts up the link for Tech Talk Live Wednesday. It's going to be on the Slant Daily or American Hot Rod Association channel, so you guys can catch that. That's a good place to ask your Triple Crown questions for Triple Crown class or your tech questions. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. We're going to be live again a week from tonight, as we always are on Friday. I'm not sure yet if we'll have Deke, but if we are, we're going to try to put something out to announce that earlier in the week. But we're going to be having some special lives with special guests coming up real soon, and I'm going to give you who they are as we have them planned out. But be looking for those. But with that, that's our week. That's this week's show. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you, and I will see you all. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you all again next Friday.